Hey, this is Math Minutes Pro with Dr. Harrison. Today, we're going to solve this radical equation. We have x equals the square root of 3 times x plus 28. There's going to be quite a few steps, so hang in there. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, when we look at it, whenever you are solving a radical equation and you have a variable on both sides, remember we're solving for x, first thing you do is you square both sides so that you can get rid of the radical symbol. Let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to rewrite this again as x equals square root of 3 times x plus 28. And we're going to square both sides. Okay, now let's go ahead and move to the next step. So when we square this, we end up with x squared equals, it gets rid of the radical or square root symbol, 3 times x plus 28. All right, now it looks like this is a quadratic equation because the highest exponent of the variable is 2. Let's go and write that in standard form. Standard form is, write that somewhere just so you see. Standard form can be written as of a quadratic is a times x squared plus b times x plus c. That's standard form. So I'm going to go ahead and write this equation in standard form. We're going to manipulate it. First thing we want to do is we're going to want to subtract 3x from both sides and then subtract 28 from both sides. Let's do that one at a time. Minus 3 times x, minus 3 times x. So then we get x squared minus 3 times x. Remember that crosses out. And then bring down the equal sign. That equals 28. Almost there. Let's get we want that to let's get rid of the 28. So let's subtract 28 from both sides of the equation. That crosses out. And we get x squared minus 3 times x minus 28, and that is equal to 0. This is great. You may have solved an equation like this before. What we need to do now, the strategy we're going to use, is the zero product rule. So I think I'm going to write that down here at the bottom. It's called the zero product rule or property. I'll just use the word property. It might say property in your book. Okay? All right. The zero product property happens when we're going to factor this quadratic equation and set it equal to 0. And then we're going to get two values of x. But then we're going to have to see which one is correct in the original equation. So, remember, I'm going to show you how to factor this, and I'm going to use a graphic organizer over here to find the factored form of this quadratic. So, I'm trying to use a different color here. Let's go ahead and use this color here. All right. Now, we ask ourselves, what two numbers can we multiply and get minus 28? And can we add and get minus 3 or negative 3, all right? I just happen to know what that is. That's negative 7 and 4. So let's see if that works. Well, we have negative 7 times 4 equals negative 28. That's correct. Negative 7 plus 4 equals negative 3. So we're ready. Let's go ahead and write the factor form. Now, the factor form is, we're going to say x minus 7, taking that negative 7 right there, putting it there, and then x plus 4. That 4 goes right in there. Now we're ready to go ahead and solve this equation. Let me go ahead and erase this. I'm working my board here. Now, our next step is we're going to solve for x and get our two values. So I'm going to use an organizer. Let's see here. Use a different color so that I make all these steps explicit. Do something like this. And I'm going to take x minus 7, set it equal to 0, and then x plus 4, set that equal to 0, and solve for x. So we add 7 to both sides. We get x, and that crosses out, equals 7. Subtracting 4 from both sides of this equation, that crosses out. We get x equals negative 4. All right. We have two answers, but we need to check and see if both of them satisfy this original equation, okay? Or if only one satisfies the equation. So I'm going to use a different color for that. And let's see here. Let me organize this a little bit. All this right here is step 1. So I'm just going to, all of this is step 1. I'll just say step 1. Okay. And this stuff right here is step 2. So I'll write step 2. All right. Let me erase that a little bit, be consistent. I'd like to organize everything so that you can follow. And now we're moving to step 3. I'll just label this before I get started, step 3. So in step 3, what we want to do is check. So let's go ahead and check and see. We're going to substitute x equals 7 in the original equation, see if it's a true statement. And then we'll substitute x equals negative 4. We'll substitute negative 4 for x in the original equation and see if it's a true statement. So what about when we let x equal 7? All right. We let x equal 7, we get, there we go, keep it clean. We get x equals, I'm going to write that original equation, square root of 3 times x plus 28. Now let's substitute. So then we get 7 equals square root of 3 times x equals 7, okay, plus 28. Nice. So let's go ahead. I'm going to move this up here and imply that this is our next step. We write 7 equals square root of, we get 21 plus 28, 3 times 7, So 3 times 7 is 21 plus 28. Always look and think, okay, what else can I do? I can add those numbers under the radical symbol. So I get 7 equals square root of 21 plus 28 is 49. Okay. And then we get, when we simplified, 7 equals 7. All right, so this implies equality. I'm just going to put a check right there. And for x equals 7, it's a yes. It works. All right, that was a check for the first one. And I'm going to write in here check, just so you know that's what we're doing. Now let's check what we get when we let x equal -4. And I think I'll use a different color for that. Let's see what we got here. No, that may not work here. Let's try another color here. There we go. All right, so now let's go ahead and I'm going to have a dividing line for the next check. We're doing a check again. All right, so let's copy the equation first like we did here. X equals square root of 3 times x plus 28. Right, in this case, we know that in this case, we're going to say x equals, I'm going to check for x equals -4. So let's go ahead and substitute -4 for x. When we do that, we get -4 equals square root of 3 times -4 plus 28. Very good. Now, let's go ahead and simplify. So bringing down the -4 equals square root of 3 times -4. It's going to give us -12 plus 28. All right, so we're going to simplify what's under the radical symbol, bringing down the -4 equals square root of 28 plus -12. That gives us +16. Now ask ourselves, what's the square root of 16? It's +4, not -4. Okay, so I'm going to write that this is not equal. Okay, and remember when I put a check here? In this case, this is not true. So I'm going to say no. So what's our final answer? Our final answer in this case is that x equals 7. So I'm going to write our final answer right over here, working the board here. X equals 7 is our final answer. We saw that x equals -4 is not, but x equals 7, we have equality right over there. So that's our final answer. So thank you for watching. And remember, math is life, and life is math.